Alright, so we're going to be working on making like a quick customizable chord. And the cool thing with this is the way we're going to do it, you're going to be able to go back and quickly make it into whatever team or whatever design you want on the chord. So it's not just a one-time thing, you're going to save it and be able to use it for whatever you need. So we'll start out, try to ignore the 5 million tabs that I have opened. I know that'll be hard, so bad job by me. Just a basic chord picture. It's obviously going to be important to get as high a quality picture as possible. But the main thing you want to pay attention to is going to be like getting that kind of chord texture. And so you don't just want like a one color piece, you want there to be this wood texture to it, and that's going to make it look real when you start adding paint or logos on there. And we'll see how that works. So this one looks actually pretty good. We just have some extra that we need to get rid of. So I'll go here and I will just go ahead. All right, there's the part that I want. Notice I have my feather at 0.1. So what that means is it's going to be a real crisp line. Obviously, if it was like 50, it would be a very blurred line. Go here to my mask tool. All right, then that gives me the space that I want, and I know I'm not going to need any of that border, so I'll go ahead and right click and apply the layer mask. All right, so now we kind of have the chord that we want. So to go from here, and this is completely up to you. So when I do this, what I do is I go ahead and go to black and white, and because I just never know what colors I'm going to want the chord to be, I go ahead and go to black and white and I make it the very basic black and white color, just so that whatever color I want to make it, I can go from there. But that's completely up to you. For this one, we'll just leave it as a regular wood and go from there. All right, the first step is what you're going to want to do is get the chord lines as their own layer, all this white. So there's actually a trick that makes that relatively easy. It should be easy, but sometimes the tool isn't incredible, but we'll give it a go. So right here in the selection tool, I have the area selection. So what I'll actually go is to this magic wand tool, click on that. And what that does, when you go to a layer and click on it, it selects everything that is that color. So you see how it got all the white, but it actually did not get this white in here that wasn't connected to the original thing that I clicked on. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Shift and click again, and it's going to pick that up. And obviously I know I'm going to have to go ahead and do that down here on the other end. All right, so there we go. But if you're paying attention, you probably think to yourself, you know what, that honestly doesn't even make any sense, because there's no basketball hoops there. It's just a little thing that they happen to have on this chord. All right, but if we were going to select it, like I said, you hold down Shift and click, and you're able to expand the selection. What I'm going to do, though, is go ahead and undo both of those because I don't want those. All right, so I have everything selected that I want to, right? I want to get these white lines in their own layer. So since it's selected, you see the little moving lines, all I have to do, have layer 1 selected right here, which is the chord. I'm going to duplicate the layer. So Command J duplicates it. And what happens when you duplicate a layer with what's selected is you just get what was selected. All right, so I'm going to take the chord off, and you can see it a little bit because it got some of that outside. The lines were a little blurry. But if I go ahead and take that white part out, you can see it even better. There it is. We just have the white on the chord. All right. Obviously, the selection wasn't perfect, so there's some tan in there. Personally, I would rather it be all white. All right, that's going to make me happier, so I'll just go to color overlay here and make it white, and boom, there we go. And I know that I want it to be white, so I'll go ahead and rasterize the layer style. All right, so what we have now is all our lines, and I'll label it chord lines. And that actually I use all the time, kind of in random graphics, just to throw in there. Is just this chord line, messing with the perspective, messing with the colors. It's something you can kind of put in the background of a graphic to just add a little touch. All right, so now we have our chord here, and we have the lines as its own layer. The next step that we're going to want to do is basically we want to divide up the chord into a bunch of separate sections. All right, so here's what we're going to do. basically, like, I'm going to want all this outside part as a selection. I'm going to want this half as a selection, this half. I'm going to want the center circle as its own deal. I'm going to want the lanes. So let's talk about that a little bit. All right, so I'm going to take here, I'm going to go ahead and get my rectangle selection tool. And the cool thing about this is when we're dividing it up, it doesn't have to be perfect. However you decide to basically make the chord into little sections, because even if your line isn't perfect right here, the chord lines is going to be over the top of it, so you don't have to be too detailed when you're chopping up the chord. All right, so I have that part selected. I'm on layer 1, Command J to duplicate it. All right, and now, I'll just do it real quickly, basically why we're doing this. So watch this. I can go to Hue and Saturation. I'm on that first chord where it has the sidelines. All right, and let's just make it blue real quick, and voila. So now the outside is blue and the inside isn't. So that's what we're gonna do real quick, is go ahead and do that so that the whole chord is in different sections. Go ahead and back out of there, take that color off for right now. All right, so now we have our chord right here. And there's just several things that we're gonna do. But the main thing that I like to do is go ahead and start labeling so I know exactly what's what. So this one, my bottom layer, I'm gonna label out of bounds. Then I will label this one full chord. All right, and now let's just get to work. Here we go right here. All right, Command J, and with that selection, now we have, I'm gonna put L for left lane. All right, then notice I have to go back and click on this layer that has everything to grab this. All right, so now I'm back on that layer. I go here, all right, and clicked on full chord, Command J to duplicate, and boom, I have my right lane. All right, now I wanna do the center circle. All right, so I'm back, I'm selecting the layer that I wanna chop out of. I can't be on one of these because this R lane or L lane, because then when I try to make my selection, it won't work. All right, so I'm right here. I'm gonna right click on this rectangle marquee tool and actually make it elliptical marquee tool. A little trick, whenever using the marquee tool, if you hold down shift, you will get either a perfect circle or a perfect square. So what I'm gonna do here, I know I wanna select a perfect circle, right? All right, and if I start here and drag down, the circle is gonna actually end. If I were to start exactly in this corner, the circle is gonna end right on these edges. All right, and so once I line it up where I know the circle needs to be, all right, okay, it's not working perfectly. We'll zoom in a little more, and that's fine, we'll figure it out from here. So if I go right here and I hold down shift and I get a perfect circle eventually, voila, there we go. I have it selected, I'm on my full chord. Command J to duplicate it. It uses what's inside the selection, and we have center circle. All right, then for me, I'm gonna get a little particular here. I'm also gonna want these things right here. All right, so I'm gonna go back to my full chord, use my pen tool. Here we go. Right here, and remember, when I'm using my pen tool, if I click and hold, I can drag out and make these curves. So hopefully we can get this to the right place. Right there is good. And that didn't go quite how we wanted to, so I'm gonna control and undo it. And let's try going like this. And remember, as long as I can get it inside that white line, we are in shape, because the white line will be over it. Okay, so this didn't quite work. All right, because I did not line up this first dot right here correctly. So here's a little trick you can do with that, because this thing out here is gonna affect, when you're using the pen tool and clicking and holding, this little line right here is gonna affect where your next dot goes. All right, so a trick to get around that, I go back to where I put this pin and I click on it and I go and drag, and you see how that line, that little handle that was out here is now right here. What that means is I get a lot more freedom with my next point. I can basically just go and drag it to wherever I need it to go. So here, we'll finish it out. All right, same thing. You see right there, the handlebar out to the side affected it. So take that off, click. All right, now I'm back, drag it to where I want it to be, and now this next point won't be affected by that handle out to the side. All right, right click, make selection. All right, and we're on a full chord. Command J, and I'll label this one R for right, moon. Go down to the other end, make sure we're selected on the full chord. Boom, still with my pen tool, click, hold it down and drag to get to where we can move and curve the line. All right, that's good enough right there. I know that I don't want my line going out that direction, so I go back and click on that pen point again, line it up, come over here, line it up. Once again, don't need that point right there, so I'm clicking on my pen point, holding it in here, and finish out. Make the selection, duplicate your full chord, and you have left moon. All right. Now, the last thing that I want to grab is what's inside the 3-point line, using the exact same process. All right, selecting everything inside the 3-point line. Not crazy about that. I'm gonna do it the old-fashioned way. Just go down here, click a few more times. See if we can get away with dragging and holding. And there we go. Drag and hold. Maybe get one more. That one worked a little better. Click, click, right click, make selection. We're on our full chord. Command J, it's duplicating the layer and only saving what's inside. And this is our left 3-point line. Head down to the other end of the chord. Select, select. We're still curving around. Click and hold on the pen tool to let you bend your line. And it's looking just about right. Right click, make selection. And here we go, Command J. And this is right 3-point line. All right, so now what we have is our full chord chopped up into little sections. And so what I would go ahead and do is I would combine all of these together. So I'm gonna go right here, shift, hold down shift, and when I click, obviously that's gonna select everything in between. Command G to make it a group, and I'm gonna label it chord, okay? So that's the first step, is just getting your chord into where it's in every section, whatever you'll need. And I'm gonna throw in a little bonus that I actually just thought of here. So remember talking about these little hoops that don't actually make any sense right here, that wouldn't actually exist on a chord. So this is a cool trick that we'll go ahead and go into and talk about. So let's go to our lanes. Let's go to left lane. All right, so we want this gone, and you could use your clone stamp tool. That would be one way to do it, but that can get a little tedious. All right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go up here, the same spot where we used our magic wand tool, right click, and we're actually going to go in and just go with our quick selection tool. I actually selected a little more than I liked. So let's go deselect, and eventually here we go with our lasso tool. And we're just gonna real simply draw a shape around it. All right, I'm gonna right click inside my selection and I'm going to click on fill. Then I'm simply gonna go, you have several options right here. I'm gonna leave it on content aware film, opacity 100, click OK, let it do its thing, and voila, there it is. It's gone. You see right here, we have a little bit of a miscue on the line. And so what I will do, I'll go ahead and grab my clone stamp tool. Easy enough. Hold Alt to get where I want to select. Drag over. Then we'll do the same thing on the other side. One more time, holding down Alt to select, moving it to where I want it to go. And there we go. All right. And then we'll just do it on the other side. We have our right lane selected. Go to our lasso tool. We are just going to go around right here. Nice and simple. Right click, fill. It's already on content aware fill. Okay. And there we go. All right. That line isn't perfectly straight. It's going to bother me a little bit. So let's do a little work with our clone stamp tool right here. Over we go, dragging along. And let's actually go all the way over here to fix this one. Paying attention to where that cursor is showing us. We're about to get to a crack, so let's start it back over. Here we go. And that's all straightened up. All right, so now we have those gone, and that's just a quick little lesson. The content aware tool where you can fill with content aware is huge. It saves you a lot of trouble when you're trying to get rid of a logo on a jersey or get rid of a number on a jersey or anything like that. All right, so now we have our court like we want it, and just 2 quick steps that I'll show you and talk about customizing the court. All right, so what you're probably gonna wanna do is change the colors on a court. So let's start with the lane. We want the lane to be a different color. And so all we have to do, we go to left lane, and there's obviously a lot of ways to change colors on Photoshop, but my favorite, and let me actually get to the right spot here, all right, on the left lane. For me, the best is hue and saturation. You can change how colored it is. You can make it black and white very easily. I just think it's the best way to do it, and you always save the texture. All right, so obviously, first and foremost, you can make it black and white by messing with your saturation. But let's say we want to make it red. All right, so obviously, I'm going to click Colorize right there. With my hue, I'm going to take it to somewhere red, and then it's completely up to me. I can make it super red. I can make it just a light tone of red. I can make it a dark red. We can make it a crazy bright red. Or we can make it just a very complete red. It's completely up to you. I'm gonna kind of leave it at a sort of a mid-tone right here, a darker red right there. All right, and the cool thing is, let's say that you like this, but you wanted it to include that, the moon, as I call it right there. Well, easy enough. What I would do, and I'm gonna delete this hue and saturation, is I would say, well, our moons are always going to go probably with our lane. So I'm going to come over here and put my left moon with my left lane, hold down Command, and just go Command G here. All right, and then I have my group inside of there, and I can go hue and saturation right here, and we can colorize it. All right, make it green. And you will notice that it's a different color. So going back actually to the very beginning of the video where I said I make it all black and white, part of the reason I do that, I go ahead and make it all one color. And that way I don't run into this little issue right here. Just a side note there. All right, so that's one thing you're gonna wanna do is colorize it. And if you wanna, like basically as I was saying, if you want the whole thing like that, perfect. You don't like that, I can go inside my group super easily and just make the lane or the moon one color. So colorization is the first thing you're gonna use a lot on a court, a lot. All right, now, let's say very simply, we just wanna make the court one color. Well, that's cool, we already had our whole group here. So all we'll do here, we'll just go hue and saturation, and I'll make it blue for UAH. So I click on colorize, I drag it over here. I like 240 is usually my color on hue. If I can get it, I'll just type it in, that'll make it simpler. Let's actually get 240. That would be helpful. All right, and I don't need it crazy bright blue. I could do that, but I'll just sort of leave it at a mid-tone. All right, so there we go. Now let's talk about the other thing that you'll want to do customizing chords, which is putting logo and text and whatever on it. So let's go in here, and one thing that we see a lot is camo on the chord or any kind of design. So I have some camo ready to go here. I draw it over and we throw it in right here. All right, so there's two tricks that I'm gonna want to talk about with this right here. And we'll go ahead and label this camo. And let's say we want to make inside the 3-point line the camo. So let's take our camo and go down to left 3-point line. And here we go. So we have it dragging around. Let's go ahead and we can change the size. And you will notice, because I made the whole chord, I have my hue and saturation outside of the group, that it's affecting the camo. That's just something you'll have to decide. If you don't want it to affect the camo, you would have to go in and put your hue and saturation on individual parts of the chord inside here. It's completely up to you. But I'll just leave it like this for right now. All right, so let's talk about two tricks that we're gonna do. Actually, let's do three. We'll do a bonus one. We have this white outside of the, and let's say that, like most logos, we don't want the white there. So we'll talk about a quick trick to get rid of that. And it's that simple. We double click on the layer and it brings up this layer style. All right, then we have our two sliding scales down here. The one that says this layer, I'm gonna go to the white, and what I do when I click and drag this, it takes out everything that is white or below that. So the further I go, the more dark colors it starts taking out. All right, but we just wanted the white gone. So I'll just drag it down a little more, boom, there we go. If I hold down Alt, what I'm able to do is actually separate it out, and that kind of smooths the transition a little bit. All right, so there we go. I have that white outside out of the way. Command T to change the size. All right, so now we have it filling up the whole 3-point line, but obviously it's doing more than we want. So we could go in here, we could use our pen tool and our quick selection tool, and we could trace it or eraser and get rid of what's on the outside. But this is a very simple trick to save you some time. If you know you just want to do it inside the 3-point line, here we go. I'm gonna hold down Command Option G. All right, and what that's gonna do, it's just gonna tie it to the layer right below it. And then I can move it around, do whatever I want with it, and it's just gonna stay on that left 3-point line where we want it. So that's trick number 2, is Command Option G, so you're locking it to the layer below it. All right, but now you look at it and you see it doesn't look like it's on wood. It doesn't have that nice texture that the chord has. So very simple, we double click, we're back into our layer styles. So last time we messed with this layer part. Now we're gonna go to underlying layer. And what this does is when I drag this, it lets whatever is darker underneath the layer come through. Or conversely, if I did it on this side, whatever was lighter. But with anything like this, what you'll see is that where the paint doesn't go through on a chord is where there's cracks in between the hardwood. So holding down Alt to make it a smoother transition, I go through here, and you can see that now we're starting to get some of that wood texture coming through. And it's completely up to you how much. You can do it just a little bit right there. You can do it a lot right there. All right. And so doing that with the underlying layer in layer styles is how you can make whatever logo you do blend with the chord. So there you go. Now you have some camo inside the 3-point line. We could say the exact same thing. I'll go in here with the Charger logo. And that thing is huge. Let's make it white. So we'll go color overlay. All right, Command T. Let's bring it down to size a little bit. And we just want it on the chord right here. All right, so now with our logo, we can do the same thing we just did with the camo. We can go in here and we can add some texture, kind of to taste, however much you'd like to do that. All right, so basically what we have here, we have a chord that we can put logos, we can put text on, and text works exactly the same way. You can put it wherever you need to. We're giving it that wood texture. We can change any color to any of the part of the chord that we'd like. That makes it pretty simple. So let's talk about one last step. All right, And that is, most of the time when you see a court, it's not going to be directly from above like the perspective here. It's going to be that you're looking out over it. So let's talk about changing the perspective of the court while still making it able that we can go back and use this court in the future. So we have our group right here, the court group. So here's what we'll do. We will actually duplicate the whole thing. So we still have this that we can go back in and change whenever we want to do a new court style. But right here, we'll go ahead and convert this to a smart object. And then we will go in here and let's just go ahead and rasterize it. Command E to merge it with the hue and saturation layer. And then what we have here is an actual one just layer copy of the court. This is after we've made the court exactly how we want it. And then it's real simple. We'll just go in here to edit and we will go to transform and perspective. And, away we go. Here comes the court. We can decide if we like that or not. We keep messing with the size. That looks a little weird. Let's make it like just a little flatter. Now this is crazy wide. So we'll bring it in here. And obviously, this is completely up to you. You can mess with this as much as you'd like. But what we've done here is we have the court kind of at the perspective that we want, where it's going to be nice and easy to put a player on it. And down here, we still have our original copy of the court so that we can go back and use it in the future.